Hi, my name is Dinah Ramirez, and I am a learning specialist. And we are going to be going through a webinar here, which is an introduction to building and creating infographics. And of course, it is a crash course, so we will move quickly, and hopefully it's just enough information to go ahead and get you started on creating infographics. And we'll also walk you through just a few quick steps in getting started with the Easley Designer, which is a very easy way to get started in creating infographics that will allow you to, of course, present information quickly and clearly to your audience. Now, if you're not familiar with what infographics are, they are graphic visual representations of information, data, or knowledge that are intended to present information in a quickly and a very clear format. Now, before we go ahead and get started, I do want to cover a few housekeeping items about today's webinar, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Now, I have a colleague that is joining me here today. Her name is Latasha. She is in the chat window, so you can go ahead and say hello to Latasha, and you'll see that she'll be assisting me with any questions that come through the chat window. She's a great help as we go through the session here today. It's always hard to get to some of the questions in the chat window. So hopefully we're able to go ahead and answer all of those questions for you the best we can. And if not, I hope that we can follow up with you today after today's webinar. Now, another thing I'd like to mention is that I do have some poll questions set up. And if you can go ahead and take a look below the video window, you'll see that there is a link to polls, and there are 2 questions there. And if you could just let me know who you are, just so that I have a better understanding of who's in the audience, it'll help us guide the presentation here today. And also, if you could let us know what your experience is with Easley, that would also be helpful. Sometimes we get some expert users of Easley, and then we also get some new people to Easley and who have never even heard of it or have never used it. And so it's just great for me to have a good understanding of what your experience is with that tool. Okay, wonderful. Well, I see that some of you have started to go ahead and submit your responses. So it looks like we have quite a few people in the higher ed space, K-12 space, some entrepreneurs and small business owners. We also have some business professionals and maybe in some other industries as well, and a few others. And those of you that are marking off other, if you'd like, you can feel free to go ahead and let us know in the chat window what your industry is. And so any of that information, if it can be of help to us as we present, that would be useful. And then also, as I take a look at people's experience with Easley, it does look like we have quite a few people that have never used it before and would like to start. So that's good to know. I'll make sure that we at least cover the very basics of getting started with Easley so that you're up and running here today. After today's webinar session, we will be providing webinar notes. So all of the information and links that we reference here today will be sent out in an email to anyone who has registered or attended. And of course, if you need that information and you don't receive it for whatever reason, feel free to go ahead and email us, and I will be providing my email information at the end of today's webinar. Okay, great. Now, with questions, there is a link that says Q&A next to the poll link. And if you could go ahead and locate that, you'll see that this is a great place for you to be able to put any questions that you may have. I will try to take a look at this at the very end of today's session and see how many of those questions we can go ahead and answer for you. The Q&A is a great place for questions because it won't get lost in all of the chat comments that come through. So that's a very great place. If you do go ahead and put a question in the chat window, that's fine too. Latasha's there to go ahead and check that out and answer it. But I will also be checking the Q&A section. So with that, unless there are any questions, we'll go ahead and get started with our content. So let me go ahead and toggle away from my video screen, and I'm going to go ahead and enlarge my slide deck so that you can get a better view of that. So give me 1 second to do that. Okay, so you should be able to see my slide deck a little bit better there. And let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so again, I mentioned earlier that infographics are a graphic visual representation of information, data, or knowledge, and it's intended to present information quickly and clearly. Now, some of you are probably familiar with infographics already. If you've never heard of the term infographics, I'm sure you've seen infographics on social media or just when surfing the web. And there's many great examples out there of infographics that are on the web, on TV, in brochures, in manuals. There's so many different examples of this. Now, if you're looking to build one out yourself and you're trying to develop an infographic, you'll want to ask yourself a few questions before you go ahead and get started. Who are you looking to inform? Who is going to be your audience? Who's going to be your target audience? This is a really good thing to think about because that is really going to drive the type of infographic that you create. Is your audience going to prefer a certain type of infographic over another in terms of style? So those are things that you'll want to consider. You'll also want to think about what you're looking to inform about. You may already have this topic narrowed down, but if not, we'll go over some examples of where you can get started in terms of trying to find a topic to create an infographic. But you'll really want to drill down to what you're looking to inform about and make sure you can narrow it down because there's only a certain amount of space or limited space when creating your infographic. So you'll want to make sure that you can cover everything very, very detailed enough within the space that's provided to you. Now, you'll also want to think about why you want to inform. So what's your purpose? What's your ultimate goal with creating this infographic? And there can be many reasons, whether you're looking to share some information with your students in a class, or maybe you're looking to communicate to your customers, or maybe you're looking to, build a customer base and you're looking to attract new customers in. So there's many different ways or reasons why you would want to inform. Now, once you've gone ahead and thought about some of those questions, now you may at that point already be ready to go ahead and get started in terms of collecting your data, research, and building out your infographic. But if not, then you may still need to go through the process of generating some ideas for an infographic. And there are many places to get started, but here are just a few to get you started if you don't have that topic. Now, the news is a great source for ideas on creating an infographic. Anything that's hot or current in the news are going to be a great place to get started. And this information, of course, is timely and may offer access to new data that would be a great reason to go ahead and create that infographic, to go ahead and communicate that information out to more individuals. Now, of course, there are many different news outlets on the web simply by going ahead, doing a Google search or whatnot. And, some of those resources are absolutely free. You'll, of course, want to check your sources and make sure that those sources are credible. But you may want to also go to your local library or your school's library because they have access to subscriptions to news outlets that may not be free and available on the web. And so if you visit the library and access some of their databases that are paid, you may gain access to some additional news sources that might provide you with some more ideas for an infographic. Another great place to get started is just simply by going on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. Now, all of those social media platforms do showcase what's popular and what's trending. And so if you take a look at that and see what is grabbing people's attention, maybe that is something that you can tie into whatever topic or industry that you're looking to communicate about in an infographic. So that's another great place to get started. Sometimes it's really great to just take a look at some existing infographics. And by taking a look at some existing infographics, either through Google Images or Pinterest, it's a great way to be able to get a good understanding as to what's popular, what people are interested in looking at in terms of an infographic, getting ideas as to what type of an infographic is going to work for your audience that you're looking to communicate to. There are also infographic directories out there that you can browse through for inspiration, and those directories you can browse by topic. Helpareporter.com is a great source. If you sign up for some of their daily emails, they will showcase some media opportunities that they're looking to try and build up. And so if you know what the media is interested in wanting to build some more articles or get something out in the news during that time of them trying to build that out, that's just a great opportunity to know what could be up and coming in the future, or what could be popular. So signing up for that daily email or newsletter can be very helpful in generating some new ideas as well. Now, you can also lean on your expertise. Everyone's an expert in something. And so depending on what you're looking to communicate on, you can go ahead and fall back on your expertise and create an infographic on a niche that you know really well. Now, I know that we have some professors and some students and some teachers on this webinar here, and I challenge that you ask your students to maybe think about what are they an expert in. So if you're looking to have them build out an infographic themselves, ask them, what are you an expert in? And have them build out an infographic. And, they may have to go ahead and do some research to support some of the information that they're looking to share about, what they're an expert in. And so that is a wonderful way to get started as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and discuss the basic structure of an infographic, and then I'm going to go ahead and check in with the group to see where we're at with comments. And I don't know if I see any questions at this point in time, but again, keep in mind that you can feel free to go ahead and submit any questions or comments that you might have through the chat window as we move along, and Latasha will be able to take a look at that as we go. Okay, so going back to the basic structure of an infographic. Now, this looks a lot like a paper. And while you're not going to structure your infographic in the format of text, there are some key things that you'll want to think about in terms of the structure of an infographic. Now, every infographic is going to have a title or the topic at the top of the infographic, or somewhere where people's eyes gravitate to, so that they have a good understanding of what the infographic is going to be about. And then next, of course, you will want to provide a very, very brief introduction to that topic. Now, this is what's going to provide that context for the reader or viewer of the infographic. Now, this shouldn't be lengthy. Hopefully, you can provide this introduction in under a sentence or two, and it's just enough to give people some background information to give them that context before they keep moving along through the content of your infographic. Now, the middle, or the majority of your content for your infographic, is going to be the place where you put all of your examples and facts and data to support your topic or the argument that you're trying to make. Now, this is really going to be the meat of your infographic, and you'll see that the majority of the content will, of course, be there. Now, lastly, you will need to summarize your infographic. You'll want to reinforce your argument. And if you are looking to have a call to action, or you want individuals to take action after learning some more information about what you're looking to share, you'll want to, of course, put that at the very end of the infographic. Now, this can be a call to action, could be having them go to your website, or going to the original source of the data, or it could be linking them out to your YouTube channel to view some tutorials. It can be a variety of things. So, think about that and make sure that you have some type of call to action, because, ultimately you are looking to guide your audience to some more information, to learn more, take action, and go beyond the information that you're presenting in the infographic. Lastly, I do want to mention that any of the data and the sources that you use in your infographic, you'll want to, of course, make sure that you are crediting your sources and putting that source information in there as well. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and keep moving along here. And again, I don't see any questions about the content that I'm covering, so I'm going to take that as everyone's following along and taking some good notes and just wants to learn more. So let's keep moving here. So let's cover the 7 most common types of infographics. Now, when you think of an infographic, you often think of just infographics in general as, one type of infographic that has one format. But in fact, there are various types of infographics. And depending on the information that you're looking to share, one of these formats will be right for the type of information and data that you're looking to communicate with your audience. Now, keep in mind that as we go through these different types, that you may use one or you may use a combination of these types of infographics depending on the data that and information that you're looking to share with your audience. And so here with number 1, this is one of the most basic types of infographics. It's the list. And while some people think of a list infographic as a linear list, maybe from top to bottom, for example, keep in mind that a list is going to support a claim through a series of steps. So it certainly can go from top to bottom, and it can be a very traditional view of a list, but you can also make it move as well. And so as long as you maybe number your steps and have a guide for your audience within the infographic, they'll be able to still follow along those steps, whether you're putting arrows or a dotted line. This is a template in Easley that is a very good example of a list type infographic that moves across the page and doesn't necessarily follow that linear type format. Okay, the second type of infographic is the comparison or the versus infographic, where you're trying to compare 2 things in a head-to-head study. Now, this is a great example of a template in Easley that provides you an example of how you can build out that comparison. And you'll see here that it's, of course, an infographic that's showing some information on taking handwriting notes versus typing notes and the pros and cons between them, and also just sharing some information about, college students bringing their laptops to class and how more and more of them are doing that, of course. So just a great way to be able to get an understanding of that. But again, this is simply a template that is in Easley, and there are various other examples of comparison type infographics that you'll be able to explore. Now, the third type that we want to discuss is the flowchart. And I know that you've seen flowcharts in many documents that you've experienced, of course, in your lifetime. And when you're creating an infographic that has a flowchart, of course, there's many different ways to create that flowchart, but ultimately it's going to provide an answer to a question via reader choices. And you're basically guiding your reader through various options to ultimately end up in a certain spot. And so this is a good example, again, of a template that's available in Easley that covers research and inspiration and all of the steps of the creative process and guiding that user through that. And of course, you'll see that there are many different ways to get there, and the arrows are guiding individuals to that final idea of getting your research topic and inspiration. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is an infographic that is an example of a visual article. So there are, of course, various blogs out there, and people are writing articles, and of course, it's always nice to have the full text of an article. But if you're looking to grab someone's attention and pull them into that article, then you may want to go ahead and think about creating maybe a visual article that summarizes your article, that pulls people into the full text of that article. And so it's an opportunity to make a piece of writing more visual and interesting. And sometimes that's enough to get your audience into your article and learning some more. And so this is, again, another example of a template that's in Easley. And, for example, if there's an article that you're writing about food trends, then, you can use an infographic to provide a visual representation of all of the topics that you're going to be covering within that article and pull people in. Okay. So I'm just going to check in with the group, and I'm just double checking to see if you are still following along and still see my slides. I see that maybe there might be some technical issues on some parts, but I think it's just a matter of individuals needing to refresh your browser. So if I can just get confirmation that you can see my slide that says number 5 and that you can still hear me, then I will just keep moving along. Okay, wonderful. So I just wanted to double check, because once I see a few people having issues, it starts to concern me. So I don't want to keep moving along if you can. Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, we've got a few more, and then we'll take a pause, because I'm kind of curious if, for those of you who are looking to get started on your infographic, which one of these formats might be right for you in terms of what you're looking to build out in terms of an infographic. Okay, so the next one is the map. And a map infographic is going to showcase data trends based on location. And this is really great if you have demographic information that you're looking to represent, and you can, of course, put in the map of that location. And I have a few examples here where you can go ahead and put a world map, or you can drag an image of a country or a state, or a geography that's in there. And of course, Easley has various graphic images of actual locations that you'll be able to upload depending on whether or not you have the basic or the pro account. We have a good majority in the pro account, of course, but you can always upload an image of a location as well. And so you can, if there's not, you can't find something in our library, then you can always upload something of your own. But this is great, of course, when you have demographic information. If you're trying to maybe build out some sales information, or if you have a sales report you're looking to share with your team or your upper management, then this is a great way to be able to display any information that you've gathered in a visual and appealing way that will attract people. Okay, number 6, let's take a look at data visualizations. Now, data visualizations will communicate data through charts and graphs and or design. Now, I put an example here. Of course, this is another template from Easley that's available, which is a very good example of a design that is incorporates a chart or a graph. And so you'll see that, the bar chart, of course, matches up with the profiles of the male and female. And of course, it's showing how much water is consumed, of course, by the body. So this is just a great way to show how, you can certainly go ahead and use pie charts and bar graphs, but using something that is included in a design can be very appealing and can draw your audience in. And this is just a matter of, taking your images and, duplicating your image and, cropping some of that out so that you can go ahead and layer it and provide that color, of course. And so, of course, it does require a little bit of some customization within the Easley designer, but that is a great way to be able to communicate your data through design. Okay, number 7, the timeline. Now, the timeline is going to tell a story through chronological flow. And again, your timeline can be linear, but it can also move around the page as well. And of course, you can make good use of your white space through moving your timeline across the page. And I've provided, again, another template that's available in Easley that is an example of a company timeline, of course, and you'll see how it moves across the page. Now, timelines can be great for maybe a company history that you're looking to represent, or if you're looking, we have some teachers, of course, on today's webinar, if you want to have your students build out a timeline of a topic in history that they're covering or something that's of interest to them, this is a great and easy way to get them started with infographics, because they may have had to do a timeline in the past using some other tools, but building out an infographic is another great way and can really engage your students in that process. Okay, so we've covered 7 different types of infographics. Now, for those of you on the call who are looking to get started on an infographic right away, which one of these formats is a format that is going to be most relevant to your needs or your purposes? Or do you have a combination of these that would work for you? I'm always curious. So if you could just go ahead and put that information in the chat window, it would be nice to see. And I hope that we've introduced some of these formats that would be very, very helpful for you. Okay, good. So it looks like, again, the data visualization is probably going to work best for you. A combination, and absolutely, depending on how large your information is, it's likely that you might use a combination of, the data visualization as well as the map to represent your information. Okay, great. I'm glad to see that someone agrees with me on number 7 in terms of, getting students to use a timeline type template of an infographic to direct students through chronological sequences. Alan, thank you for that comment. Okay, great for just idea generation and storyboarding. Great. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad that you were able to connect with some of these and that, some of these can get you started. Now, these are available in Easley, and you can browse through the templates, of course. And I just, of course, want to make note that the basic version of Easley will have less templates than the pro version. So you'll want to, of course, keep that in mind, but you'll also have the rest of the Easley community available that will also make some of their infographics public, so you can also browse through theirs collections as well. So here are some of the key steps to building an infographic. Now, if you think of the steps of building an infographic, you'll want to think of them in like 3 main steps. You'll want to create an outline and, of course, conduct your research and build out that outline based off of that. And then you'll want to design your infographic. And then lastly, before you go ahead and put your infographic out into the world, you'll want to ensure the quality. So within each of these 3 steps, when you're creating that outline, you'll certainly want to consider your audience and, be mindful of who they are and really think about who you're looking to target, as that really will drive the design of your infographic and what they'll want to see. You'll also want to, of course, create your thesis question and then narrow down your topic. And when you're creating your outline, at that point in time, it's a good time to start thinking about how you're going to craft and tell your story. Now, when you get into whatever design tool you're using, and if you're using Easley, of course, when you're designing your infographic, you'll want to keep in mind that you'll want to be brief. You'll want to use limited text, use as many graphics as you can to represent any of the messaging that you're looking to communicate. And you'll also want to limit your colors and your fonts. So I know people get very excited once they get into the design tool that you're using and want to test out various colors, but you'll really actually want to limit the color use and the fonts that you're using, because you'll want to remain consistent with your style. And sometimes too many colors and too many fonts doesn't look as professional. Now, you'll also want to see whether or not it's viewable and legible. If you cannot read it yourself, it's likely that your audience won't be able to read and follow it along. Now, lastly, you'll always want to remember that white space is a good thing. So, you'll want to make sure that there's still some space on your infographic. I know you might have a lot of information, but you really want to challenge yourself to edit some of the content. Make sure that you can still provide the information that you're looking to communicate, but that it's not crowded, because then sometimes your audience can get lost within your infographic, and it can be actually turn them away from your infographic. Lastly, again, you'll want to ensure quality and just make sure you're using accurate data. You'll want to use credible sources. You'll want to credit your sources and provide that source information within your infographic or at the very bottom. Just somewhere where people can locate that information and be able to go back to your sources if they do need to learn more or get a better understanding of that data. And lastly, you'll want to credit yourself. Make sure you put your information in there, brand it, put your logo, put your information, put your website information in there. If you want to be able to get people back to some other resources and material, you'll want to make sure that you sign it and credit yourself. Okay, now I've covered some of these 6 best practices and some of the key steps before, but there are various best practices, of course, for infographic design. But if you're just new to infographic design, these are some of the few that you should absolutely keep in mind. Again, limit your color palette, keep imagery simple, be consistent with the images that you're using. So if you're using a certain type of style with some of your images, try to keep with that style across your entire infographic, or at least make them complementary. You'll also want, again, be consistent with your style choices. It kind of goes along the same lines of making sure that your imagery is simple and that it all is cohesive. Again, white space is a good thing. 2 fonts is probably more than enough. You can use 1, but you probably may not want to use more than 2. And then lastly, size matters. And when we say size matters, you'll want to make sure that your infographic is about the page of whatever is available on a screen. Now, I know you've probably have seen various infographics that might be very, very lengthy. They're very long infographics. And of course, there is, many different reasons why someone may want to do that. But many studies show that your audience actually prefers something that they can quickly glance at within your screen, your device screen, and that you can actually see it without having to keep scrolling down to get to the final information. So you'll want to, of course, keep that in mind. If you do have a lot of information, you may want to consider breaking it up into multiple infographics and maybe create a series, maybe release it separately and have your audience keep coming back for more. So there's many different ways to be able to provide that information if you do have quite a bit. Okay, now when you're getting started with Easley, it's actually very simple. You will, of course, still need to create a login account if you haven't already done that, but getting started is absolutely free. You can browse and select templates or even start from a brand new, fresh canvas, and you can design your infographic and customize it by simply dragging and dropping items from our objects library, and there are various tools to be able to customize the content as well. You can change the color of font, you can change the color of some of our images, you can enlarge images, you can even upload your own images. So I know some people like to use their own images for their background, or they may have their own graphics that they've created or have located in other places, and you can certainly go ahead and upload those into Easley. And then lastly, once you're done, then we provide you with the tools that allow you to save it, download your infographics, you can share it through social media, and in some cases, which some people prefer to do, you can also even present it just within the Easley Designer. And that's just has been a very helpful tool for teachers and maybe even professors who maybe are working on a project with students, or they're using a group project and they can quickly present an infographic that was created right from our Easley Designer. Okay, so with that, I know we always get questions about going pro. And so I do want to address this for those individuals who are interested in the additional features that are available through pro. And so if you go pro, or if you want to try out the pro, there is a green button underneath the video window. And if you click on that, you'll be able to go ahead and actually access a free 14-day trial. And with that free 14-day trial, you will be able to test out all of the additional fonts that you get with the pro version. You also get dozens of professional templates in addition to the basic templates that are available to you. And we are continually adding more. So you don't have to You won't get upcharged for anything new that we add. We just continually add content, and that's always included in your subscription. And if you ever need help or some tips from our designer, you can always get in touch with us through our support and ask for some design help. You'll also gain access to thousands of images, and we have a stock image library. And I think this is such a time saver because all of the stock images are actually included in your subscription. And so it saves a lot of time in terms of having to upload any images from other outside sources. And because they're already paid for through the subscription, you don't have to debate whether or not I'm willing to pay for an image out of pocket. You just find what's appropriate and you can upload it and you keep moving along. You can also, again, upload all of your own images, and if you have your own fonts that you are using because maybe you have a style guide that your business is using, then you can certainly go ahead and upload any customized fonts that you would like to use. And of course, all of your work is kept private. Now, again, the Easley Basic account is always free, but the business version per user is $36 a year. So if you are looking to get upgraded and get all those images and templates and all of the additional features with a pro account, it's only $36 a year per user, unlimited use. And we do provide discounts for our nonprofit institutions, teachers, and any teachers who are looking to also offer the pro version to students in their class. And so for nonprofit and teachers per user, it's only $18 a year. And again, that's unlimited user access for in a pro account. And for teachers using to use it with their class, if you pay that full per user price, $36 a year, then we will allow you to have up to 30 student pro accounts with that purchase. Now, we do ask that you just contact us directly for that discount. So if you are a teacher, nonprofit, and you're looking to get that discount, please email us at Dinah@Easley. And then also, I'll also have some support information. You can also email our support if you're looking to retrieve that discount, but we're happy to help if you are interested in gaining access to that discount. Okay, so I am going to actually pause here. I'm going to check in with Latasha, see if there are any questions. And then what I'm going to do is, for those of you that have to start to drop off because maybe you only allotted 30 minutes for today's sessions, I do want to provide you my contact information, but I do want to just quickly jump into the Easley Designer so that you can get a good understanding of how that works if you are looking to use Easley to get started on your very first infographic. We won't go too in depth. I just want to show you the basics of the drag and drop designer. But if you do have any questions, please certainly contact us at support@Easley if you have any questions about using Easley or need some support there. You can also email me directly about today's webinar, or if you're looking to provide some ideas for future webinars on something that you'd like to see, I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas and feedback. You can email me at Dinah@Easley. And of course, follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Google+, and of course, like I said, email us. We have a blog, so if you are looking for ideas of ways to create infographics, get ideas for how others are using infographics, that is also a great resource as well. So, Latasha, what questions are there that we can answer before I jump into the Easley Designer, if there's anything? Okay, thank you, Tim. Thanks for letting us know that with your experience in using the pro version, that it's well worth it in my experience. I was a basic user, of course, myself quite a few years back, turned into a pro, and it was like night and day. And just the wealth of objects and templates that are provided, it just makes it so much easier and faster to create infographics, because I didn't have to spend the time uploading my own images or paying for any other images outside of the resource. So it's so great. Thank you, Tim, for that feedback. Okay. And I'm just quickly taking a look. I know Latasha addressed quite a few of these. Okay. Yes, we are. I know that there are some more questions about advanced techniques and uses. We have various tutorials available that will go into the actual Easley designer that will give you some tips and tricks there. I actually also just did a webinar last week that provided just 10 suggestions on how to use the Easley designer that will save you some time and build your productivity. So there were definitely some advanced techniques in there that you could check out. If you're interested in that, that webinar, of course, is available on YouTube. It's also archived here on Crowdcast. So if you want to explore our archive, then you can certainly go ahead and do that. Okay, thank you for the feedback. Okay, it does look like you're looking at next steps for creating an infographic. So I'll certainly go ahead and take that into consideration. And again, as I mentioned, there are some other webinars in the meantime until we go ahead and build something out. But yes, and there are also tutorials there as well. Okay. Okay. Well, it looks like most of the questions have been answered by Latasha. So thank you so much. Let me go ahead into the Easley designer, and maybe that might answer a few other questions as well. So here is the Easley homepage, and there is a login button. If you have already created an account, you can also just sign up for free or register today for free. It'll take you to the same place. But I'm going to go ahead and log in since I already have an account. Okay, and as I mentioned, I won't go too in depth here with the designer. I do have another webinar where I've done that does allow you to go ahead and go into greater depth here with us in terms of the Easley designer. But you'll see that there is a visual library here that is available, and you can browse through your library and check out everything that you've saved. But if you scroll below, you'll see that there are all of these public visuals that our Easley community has made public. Now, the first set of templates that you'll see are actual templates that we've created here on Easley. And then once you get through the first dozen, of course, of the infographics, then you will see that some of the other infographics will come in from our community. You can also start fresh. So if you just want a clean canvas, you can press start fresh, and of course you can get started here. You'll see that you can go ahead and clear just the instructions, but those will just provide you some instructions in terms of getting started, where you can go for objects and how you can go ahead and drag and drop it. But you'll see that here are the key steps. So you can select your template, you can add your objects. If you have media that you'd like to incorporate into your infographic, these are the three basic places you'll be able to go ahead and get started. Now, next to that, this is where you can customize it a little bit more. So if you want to add a different background, or you want to draw within the infographic in terms of lines, you can add shapes, you can add your text, you can even embed charts. So let me just quickly go through some of these as examples. So here are the templates. You'll see that we have the templates in a image carousel, but you can also go ahead and select a type of template. And this is, of course, if you have the pro version, you'll see that you have various that you can select from. I'll just go ahead and select health as an example. But here you can see some of the health templates that are available that you can go ahead and drag and drop. And I'll just go ahead and select one as an example. Once you find a template, you can drag it, but everything here can be customized and deleted. So, if you want to use this as a starting point, the template is a great place to start, but you can certainly go ahead and delete. You can resize images as needed. So the templates can save you a lot of time. Whenever you click on an object, of course, you have the ability to make changes. So if you're looking to, change the opacity of an object, you can certainly go ahead and do that. The text, you can go ahead and change the font, and you can change the color. You can add hyperlinks to the text or the images. So you'll have various tools to customize these templates and make them your own. Again, I'm not going through every little thing that's available, but hopefully you're getting an idea of the customization piece of the infographic and how you can easily go ahead and add content. Now you can also go ahead and search through our objects. So if you're looking for, let's say, more images of a heart, then you'll see that I can go ahead and type in heart. And again, I have a pro version, so you'll see that I have various examples that I can scroll through and see if I can incorporate another image that I would prefer to use within my infographic. And I'll just find one and I'll drag it in and pull that in as an example. So that is a great way to be able to add some objects. You can also add media. So we have stock photos that you can browse through. And again, with a pro account, the stock photos are already paid for, so you don't have to worry about licensing, copyright. It's all included in your pro. And so if you find an image, then you can go ahead and simply go ahead and drag and drop that. So I'm going kind of off topic here from my infographic, but let's just say I'm looking for an image of a mobile phone or a device, mobile device, then I can go ahead and select the item and I can incorporate it into my infographic, and I can resize it as needed. I can set it as my background if I'd like to move it to the back. So many different things that you have here. You can also incorporate YouTube videos. So if you want to pull in a video into your infographic, then you can just copy and paste the YouTube video into the URL, and you can go ahead and incorporate a YouTube video. You can even upload your own files. So again, if you have your own images, maybe your own company logo, maybe your school's mascot, maybe your school's logo, then you can go ahead and upload that as well. So from here, lastly, I just want to show how you can save your content and share it. If you'd like to download a JPEG image or a PNG image of your infographic, depending on how you're looking to use that, you have the ability to go ahead and do that. Keep in mind that the high quality image, you do need to have a pro account if you are looking to be able to download a high quality image of your infographic. Also, you'll need a pro account if you'd like to save a PDF version of that. Sometimes people have very sensitive information that you're creating within Easley, and you want to export your work and then come back to Easley to work on it later. So you always have the opportunity to go ahead and export your work and then re-import it into Easley so that you can continue working on it. And of course, that's usually a scenario when people have very sensitive information that they're kind of working with on their infographic. And then in terms of sharing, you can invite people to edit your infographic. You can share by email and provide people a shareable link. You can also view in a browser window and share it through social media. And then sometimes people like to embed an infographic within a website, or teachers or professors who are on the call today, if you're looking to share an infographic through Blackboard, or if you're using something like Edmodo, or something where you can actually embed code, or maybe you have a classroom website, then you can grab the code for your infographic and then copy, paste, and embed the infographic into whatever learning management system that you have. So those are just a few examples, but again, you can share it through a link, social media, or of course you can embed your infographic right into your website or learning management system that you're using. Okay, with that, we have maybe about 10 minutes before top of the hour, and I hope I was able to at least guide you through some of the basics of Easley in terms of how you can use our tool in creating your very first infographic. And at this point, what I'll do is I'll, again, check and see if there are any questions from the group and see what we can answer. And again, for those who do need to start dropping off, maybe you only allotted a certain amount of time for this webinar. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and good luck in terms of creating your very first infographic. Okay. There's a question here. I'm going through the Q&A questions now. Will there be a future webinar about how to build an infographic using Easley? So I hope that demo is enough to get you started, but we do have some webinars that we've recorded in the past, how-to webinars, and I know Latasha has already answered this, but it is a full webinar where I am spending the full webinar time in the Easley Designer and walking you through all of the details. So today's was just a brief demo, but if you do want to learn more, we do have those recordings available, and then they're available on YouTube, and then you can also watch them through Crowdcast. So if you want the Crowdcast version of those, you can dig into our archives and access them in that way. Yeah, so yeah, today's session, so another question was, someone thought maybe this is going to be a more detailed look at Easley. When we've done some of the other sessions, we've had a lot of feedback from people wanting to know the basics in terms of, what do they need to do before they even get to the Easley Designer. So today was more of just an introduction to infographics and all of the steps that you need to take and things to think about before you even get started into the Easley Designer. And so I hope that, through some of the other how-to webinars, that will provide you with that detailed information. Okay. Okay, with a Pro Easley account, is there an option to save work into folders? And how can people keep their infographics organized within the site? Okay, so there is just when you log in, you'll see that there is a view of all of the infographics under a link that says My Visuals, and this is going to be a representation of all of the infographics that you have saved, whether ones that you have created and you've saved them, and then also what I suggest is, as people browse through templates and they find something that they like, and maybe they're not going to use it at that point in time, but they want to make sure that they have that template so that they don't have to search for it in the future, you can always click on any of those templates or an infographic and save it to your My Visuals, and it will be there so that you can quickly access it whenever you need to. So that is a suggestion that I give. But you have access to your visuals whether you have a basic or a pro account. So that tool is available regardless of whether you have that basic or that pro. Okay. Okay, to promote a skincare tips, is a visual article the way to go, or which type would be best? So that is a great question, and it really depends on your audience and what they prefer. Might be an opportunity to try it out and see how it works with your individuals. I would say that absolutely, and as Latasha is suggesting here, maybe a timeline might be helpful in terms of just showing the steps of any tips that you have, or you may want to just put the basic information within the infographic and then link out to the full text of that article. You may want to use a combination of that, and having something that people can read or get more detail if they're interested in after taking a look at your infographic is always helpful. Okay, well, I think that is all of the Q&A questions that we have. Okay, well, I hope you found this session informative, helpful, and we do have another version of this webinar taking place next week on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we wanted to be able to do a second session for our European customers, because I know that our afternoon sessions aren't always the best time for them, and we had quite a few replies from our webinars that people wanted to see this session in Europe. So I hope that 10 a.m. session will accommodate our customers there. So feel free to spread the word, and we'll be, of course, communicating that out again. And so if you have any colleagues, friends, anyone that you'd like to share this webinar with, the recording will be available. But if you'd like them to attend live, again, there will be a second session next week at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, and we'll provide that information out. Okay. Okay, so I had some questions, and I'm still seeing some questions, so I'm going to keep answering some questions that are coming through. But for those of you that need to hop off, again, thank you so much. Okay, I have some questions about my PowerPoint slides. So yes, so I'm using Google Slides for my presentation, and so I built some of the content out, of course, within Easley, and I did have to save the images, and then I had to upload them into Google Slides to be able to, of course, do that. But I am using a combination of the tools that are available in Google Slides with what I am pulling from Easley in terms of downloading my infographics as an image that I can re-upload into Easley. So it is a combination, so you'll want to keep that in mind. But yeah, you could go ahead and if you are looking to build out visual slides and you want to use Easley because of all of the graphics that we offer and build out those slides, we recommend that you build each slide. Of course, each one will be individual within Easley, but once you create each slide within Easley, what you'll do is you'll download that as an image, and then once it's an image, then you can upload that into PowerPoint or Google Slides, whatever you're using as a tool. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Caroline, for the feedback. I'm glad that you found this awesome and very helpful. And hopefully, again, it was just a crash course, just enough to get you started and building out infographics. And thank you so much. And stay tuned for more webinars. If you have feedback for future webinars, I'd also love to hear it. So thanks and good luck. Have a great day.